So we're going to go. Ready?
We're ready. We have a quorum.
I'd like to call this meeting to order today, June 12th, the Regional Planning Governing Board meeting. So I'd like to ask for a roll call, please.
Clara Andriola,
Present.
Diane Vanderwell,
Here.
Brandy Anderson, Mike Clark, absent, Naomi Dewar,
Here.
Jean Herman,
Here.
Ed Lawson, Devin Rees absent, Joe Rodriguez absent, Kathleen Taylor absent, and non-voting member Beth Smith absent. I believe we have a quorum.
Thank you. And if it's appropriate at the time, it's my understanding that Councilman Miguel Martinez will be actually replacing the alternate for Kathleen. So if you could just let us know when it's appropriate. Thank you so much. Mr. Miller, would you like to lead us in the salute to the flag?
Absolutely. Thought you'd never ask. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to the approval of the minutes for April 17th. Does anybody have any changes that they'd like to note?
Madam Chair, move to approve the April 17th, 2025 Regional Planning Governing Board meeting minutes.
Ms. Vanderwell, will you be okay with amending your motion to include a correction on page 2 for Pyramid Lake Paiute?
I sure will.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second with Ms. Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move now to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do. We have Bill Miller.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Miller.
Hello, and good afternoon, Regional Planning Governing Board members, staff, and fellow residents of Truckee Meadows. I'm Bill Miller, I guess you know that. Concerned citizen here to speak in favor of approving Dr. Smith's recommendations, Agenda Item 7B. More to the point, I'm urging you to increase your vigilance in addressing the onslaught of data centers that threaten to consume our water and electricity for little to no benefit to Nevada. While we cannot manufacture more water and have little to spare, we can manufacture more power. But the way these data centers are being located demands their power come from the grid, from Nevada Energy. And Nevada Energy, because of their irrational legislated business model, will eagerly provide that power by building more methane-burning power plants. I doubt I need to remind you that since 1970, Reno has seen the greatest increase in temperature of any city in America, 7.1 degrees overall and 11.1 degrees in summer. People are dying, and it's only getting worse to the annual increase in greenhouse gases. Pouring even more toxins into our sky is insane, even nihilistic. I don't believe any of you signed up for that. But to avert this, action is needed now. Tech titans who have planned this invasion behind closed doors do not care about Nevada. They're taking full advantage of every loophole our disjointed regulatory system provides. They could and should be required to supply their own power from our ample solar and geothermal sources. Nevada has the most solar and geothermal potential in the country. In irrational sane world, they would be required to build their centers on geothermal hotspots that provide all the power they'll consume. Think about it. Running fiber optic cables is a lot faster, cheaper, and easier than miles and miles of suspended high-voltage transmission lines. But they don't because they don't have to. So it's up to us to make them. The irony being, if we do, it's better for everyone, residents and tech titans. Less pollution, less water consumed, cheaper power, greater returns, and a minimal impact on our extraordinarily beautiful state. It just might take a little longer. Their reckless addiction to speed is not our problem. Like any addict, it's about them and their desires. They will wreck their lives and everyone else's to get their fix. That's why we are here, to protect ourselves and even them from their addiction. So in summary, I again urge you to accept Dr. Smith's strategic work plan and encourage you to move as quickly and aggressively as possible to sensibly regulate this onslaught of data centers. Everyone can win, or everyone can lose. It's up to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do we have any further public comment?
That is all for this item.
Thank you.
Can someone just come up, or do you have to pre-sign?
Go sign up.
And just as a reminder, there is a 3-minute limitation to public comment. Do we have to read a legal statement on public comment? Okay, I didn't think so. Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yes. Of course.
Thank you.
Hi there. The United Nations established a carbon budget.
Would you be so kind just to state your name? for
Oh,
the
I'm sorry. My
record?
name's
That's
Jeff,
okay.
Jeff Carlton.
Thank you.
He, him. The United Nations established a carbon budget for the most greenhouse gases we should be able to emit from now into eternity, as it goes up there and stays for over 1,000 years often when we emit. And that was 50 billion metric tons. Of course, there's, 8 billion people in the world. And if you do the division, it came out with about 40,000 metric tons each of us can emit for the rest of our lifetimes, if you divided it equally among all the world's population. The thing is, most Americans exceeded that in early 2023, our whole lifetime emission budget. And we continue to emit and emit and emit. And it's true that even somebody who has their whole house solared, drives an electric car on solar energy, et cetera, just by their emissions through government, business, what they share, all of the stores we go to, our libraries, everything else, they've already exceeded their lifetime carbon emission, no matter what they do in their lives. So this is why I think it's so important. I mean, we're using up the rest of the world's population's energy of that budget. And I just wanted people to understand that math going in to your votes on anything that has to do with carbon emissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlton. Do we have any other public comment?
I believe that's it for this item.
Thank you. So we'll move now to the consent agenda. Does anyone have in any of those items, A or B, they're wanting to pull? If not, I'll entertain a motion for 6A and B.
Madam Chair, move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Dorr, second. Any further discussion? And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move now to item 7A, consideration and possible ratification of the recommendation of the Washoe County Home Consortium's directors for allocation of the Nevada Affordable Housing Trust funds in the amount of approximately $874,600 to fund the City of Reno Rental and Deposit Assistance Program, and to the home funds to following the affordable housing projects, Summit Ridge Apartments and Summit Heights Senior Apartments Phase 1 in the amount of $1,942,041.
Hi,
Thank you.
everyone. Yeah.
mouthful. Hi, everyone. Shawnee Sousa, TMRPA for the record. I'm going to be taking you through the ratification of the Washoe County Home Consortium funding. And I'm going to just start with some background and process, and then Washoe County Home Consortium staff is going to take you through the rest and look more at the projects for you. All right, so here's that background. So the WCHC was formed through an intergovernmental agreement in 1994 by Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County, and this was an effort to improve affordable housing in our region. The WCHC receives and administers home funds and provides a forum for discussion. Once again, that's around the goals of affordable housing and the future for each of the jurisdictions. Then the intergovernmental agreement also requires the technical review committee to look through these projects. So staff goes through and compiles and brings it forward to the technical review committee. And we are tasked with making those funding recommendations. Those funding recommendations then go to the directors, which in this case are the city managers and the county manager. Then it is brought here, and the agreement requires RPGB to ratify those funding allocations. So this year's process, applications were due in January of 2025. TRC public meetings were in February, March, and April. That's where we learn about those projects and talk about it with staff, and we also talk to the applicants about it. Then the directors meeting this year was also in April, where they approved the recommendations from the TRC. And here we are at the RPGB for ratification. And next, staff will take it over and go through those few projects for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Elaine Wiseman for the record. I'm with the City of Reno Housing and Neighborhood Development Division. As Shawnee was saying, City of Reno is the lead agency for the Washoe County Home Consortium. So the staff are all City of Reno employees. I do want to recognize two of our staff members that are here. Julie Henderson, she's a management analyst for the home program. So she does everything that has to do with our loan agreements and collecting on our payments, and pretty much everything runs the home program herself. She could. And then we have Alex Segura Garcia, and he is our monitoring affordable housing compliance coordinator. So we stood up this year for the first time our own monitoring and compliance program for the portfolio of projects that the Home Consortium has money in. And so he's just done a tremendous job, and that's one of our highlights really of the past year is this new monitoring program to make sure that the existing affordable housing projects are holding up their end of the deal and are putting the people in there with the right income levels, and they are maintaining their part of the agreement. And then Julie makes sure they pay, and so then we get more program income and we can develop more affordable housing. So with that being said, I'll carry on. Okay, so this is estimated funding. This is what we thought we were going to get this year, and it's actually pretty close to the finalized numbers. If you go right down to the total estimated for development projects, it is $1,942,041. It went up about $60,000, so we'll have close to $2 million to spend, which we've already identified the projects. The Nevada Affordable Housing Trust Funds, they went down about $75,000, so less than we anticipated. And these are used for deposit and rental assistance only. So years back, and I'll advance here, it's called TBRA, or TBRA, or Tenant-Based Rental Assistance. Those are the acronyms for it. Years ago, the TRC and the directors decided that due to the housing crisis and rents going up, that they wanted all of the funding from the state, from the trust funds, to go toward rental assistance. So it's rental and deposit assistance. So deposits, and this is 60% and below AMI households. So all of that funding goes toward that program. The City of Reno does administer that program, and so, but it serves the entire region. Again, all of these funds for the Home Consortium fund everybody. So that is where the $174,600 goes. Like I said, it's about $75,000 less this year. People can apply through our rental assistance portal, and we approve hundreds of we serve hundreds of households every year with these funds. This year, we received 3 applications, of which 2 were approved for funding, or recommended for funding, I should say. The first is Summit Ridge Apartments. They are located, it says they don't have an address yet, neither of them do, but they are down on Summit Ridge Drive and close to West 4th Street. And I'll show you, I have a map after this slide. So they're at the bottom down there. It's a small complex, 40 units, but they're family units, so 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. They're giving us 3 30% units. So the rents that they charge are going to be 30% rents, which are very low. So we're extremely happy to get 3 at 30%. They're also giving us 3 at 50%. Then the remainder will be 60% and below. And when we get to questions, if you're curious about rent amounts, I did bring all of that. So I'm happy to answer that. So they requested $1 million in funding. They did come to us last year for funding and with a bigger project, and it just didn't work out, but the project was great. They've already received their 9% tax credits, which is a competitive process through the state. So the state believes in them, and when they came back with the scaled down project, they were recommended for funding. And they're pretty much ready to break ground. The next project is Summit Heights Apartment Phase 1. The third application that we didn't have enough money to fund is Summit Heights Phase 2. So we're funding the first phase of this project. This is 43 units, and it's at the top of Summit Ridge Drive. So on the same street, at the top, right next to Renown Urgent Care and like Sala Family Dentistry, if you're familiar with the Northwest area, all of that is up there. They're doing 42 units. It's all seniors. So this is 55 and older, and they're doing 1 at 30%, 4 at 50%, and the remainder at 60%. They did ask for $1 million, and then this is what we anticipated we would have. So it was like, if we get a little bit more, they can, have it if it works out that way. Okay, so here is kind of a hard map to read, but at the bottom, and by the bottom I mean the right side, that's where Summit Ridge is going to be. So that's the family complex, and 4th Street is just right below that. Then if you go up Summit Ridge, Summit Heights for seniors will be up there. And again, it actually shares it almost the same parcel as the Renown Urgent Care up there. So that's the location of these 2 projects. So again, we are recommending, in addition to the TBRA, Affordable Housing Trust Funds, for the full amount that we received to go toward the rental assistance program, we are also asking that this board ratify the funding that has been recommended by the TRC and the directors for this total amount. And with that being said, I just wanted to also give you a little bit of information. I know that we come every year and this just seems so, monotonous and redundant, but it's really making a difference. We now have over 86 properties in the Washoe County Home Consortium portfolio, so that's thousands of units that are all 60% and below. And before the end of the year, we have 5 upcoming openings. That's not even included in that this board would have ratified in the past 2 years that are going to be opening for over 534 units, and one of which is the Ridge at Sun Valley, which is the first affordable housing project in unincorporated Washoe County. So all this work that you guys are doing, it's really making a difference. So with that being said, I believe this is the motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Ms. Dorr.
Hi. Hey, Elaine, welcome here. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in this space, and I'm very excited by the projects you've brought to us. And I guess my biggest question is, when you say that there's one unit at 30% and so many units at 50%, I mean, what can we do, if anything, to increase that number? I mean, I'd love to see that even higher. I mean, I'm glad to have one or two, but I think about the people that call me searching for help for others who are very low income, and so we might have served one person or a family. But how do we do more at that level in these type of projects?
So really, when they come in for applications, with their application, and we're reviewing them, that's one of the first things we look at. Okay, some people come in and they're only going to give us 4 50% units. And it's like, no, you need to throw at least a 30% in there. It's getting harder and harder for these projects to pencil, I will say that. So and also the state is allowing income averaging now. So if we say we want a 30% unit, they're going to go and jack up a 60% unit to an 80% unit, right?
No,
to
I
make
don't understand that.
So the state, in order to get any kind of tax credits, every unit had to be 60% and below AMI. They now allow it to be income averaged, so they can have 80% units, and they can have 70% units, and so it's kind of carving out the 60%
So even
units.
though you didn't list 80% units, they're still in there?
Not in these two projects, no. Not in these two projects.
Okay.
These are all 60% and
And when
below.
you say it's getting harder to pencil, I mean, there's a guarantee, as my understanding, there's a guaranteed developer fee, 5% or something like that,
Most of these have a deferred developer fee.
deferred till they're full. rented or-
I can't speak on these two.
But I guess what I'm saying is, they know they're going to make their money. So when
Mm-hmm.
you say it's harder to pencil, I guess I'm not.
Well, just, construction costs.
Yeah.
These projects are subject to the Build America, Buy America.
Okay.
So that has increased the cost.
So you're saying the overall cost is
Right.
higher? Even though
Correct.
the developer will get their money, you just need more money, period, to build them?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
No. Ms. Herman, do you have any questions? No. So, hearing no other questions, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Well, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the Washoe County Home Consortium funding allocation for home funds as described by our presenter and in the staff report.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move now
Thank
to
you.
item 7B, consideration and approval of the TMRPA fiscal year 2025-2026 strategic work plan. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith for the record. Just there getting the slide clicker. Okay, well, pretty excited to talk through a strategic work plan for the agency. It's been a while since we've taken on this approach, and so kind of excited to get your feedback and see where we go from here. So really talking about the fiscal year, which would start July 1, 2025. Oh, darn it. Okay, so a little bit of background and maybe why we're here and just now doing this process. In 2019, actually started in like 2016, 17, we began an update, a complete overhaul of the regional plan. And that basically, we were working from a legal settlement version of the regional plan, and we really wanted to re-embed the new plan into the state law requirements. There's a specific statute that is actually titled Contents of the Regional Plan, and it has 8 sections, and we wanted to make sure that our regional plan was hitting all 8 of those sections. So we took on the task of rewriting the plan. We got very far. We really made a lot of progress in the regional form aspect by adding the regional land designations or tiers. We also added a region-wide facilities and standards table so that we're considering how developments will be served prior to the decision-making process. We added a few other things, an initial review memo. We kind of reduced the number of policies and made the plan, we hope, somewhat more appealing to human beings to read and understandable. So that was all stuff that we accomplished, but we knew we fell short, honestly, of the contents of the regional plan statute, specifically around natural resources and natural resource data and mapping, and also our approach to public infrastructure and the review of capital improvement programs. Those are listed right in there. So there was a clear trajectory of where we needed to go next coming out of the regional plan. And in fact, we created policies in the 2019 regional plan to hold us to doing those tasks and completing them. So moving forward, we did complete those tasks. We obviously dealt with in 2020 the upheaval of the COVID pandemic. That was a bit of a slowing down of our process, but we picked it back up and we made it. We created both a natural resources plan document and data portal and a couple of neat policies that got adopted in 2024, including our natural resource consideration areas. We also completed the public infrastructure plan document, which describes infrastructure provisioning in 5 domains of infrastructure that include potable water, wastewater, storm and flood control, transportation, and schools. And so that is out there now. And then we have annual processes, which you'll see in the goal section, to keep these things updated and to continue to address, the state of the data and the state of the topics, what's going on in the region. So now that we have that just adopted in December, we've been working towards, I've mentioned the third pillar, which will come up. Those two kind of constitute our first 2 foundational pillars for those policies in the regional plan that we added. So we have a third one coming. But now we are at the point where we know we have that third pillar, but under sort of the guidance of our chair, that we wanted to be a little bit more transparent about how we're going to move forward with those things completed and what's next on the radar for regional. So we came up with a list of strategic work goals or a work plan of the tasks that we anticipate we're going to need to do over the next fiscal year. So that's going to allow for us to track how well we do, keep ourselves accountable in terms of the timeliness and completeness, and also the idea that, previously you folks have had the opportunity to evaluate my performance on an annual basis with an existing performance evaluation, which is very much a sort of admin approach, some sort of communication style, professional development, these kinds of things. And it doesn't really address the work of the agency and our effectiveness in accomplishing that work, which, ultimately should be a measure of our success and my success as the director if I'm able to pull those things off. So what we want to do is set the stage for the work we want to do and then work towards creating a bit of an agency report card that would allow this body to not just rate my performance as an individual administrator, but also in my effectiveness in leading the charge to get the work done that we say we can do. So that's part of this whole process. Okay, so in doing this, really, I'll be honest with you, I just, kind of started by putting everything out there that I knew that we had to do, that we've committed ourselves to doing, that we've talked about wanting to do moving forward from 2024. And it falls into these 4 strategic goal areas of our regulatory duties, regional coordination, making sure that folks are talking, silo busters is the t-shirt we're going to make, data and analytics, which obviously has been a value add, I think, that our agency has been able to provide, and finally a category of general administration, which any sort of office job has to deal with, right? Mm-hmm. And you may remember that we brought you this previously, the stool, right? What were the 3 legs of the stool at regional planning? It was regulatory, regional coordination, and data analytics. So this is how I've organized the goal areas. Okay, so we're starting out with goal area 1, regulatory duties, and this covers what I've listed as goals 1.1 through 1.5. And basically, this is the work that we do in terms of the planning space, that regulatory work, most of it at the Regional Planning Commission level, where we're looking at requests to change master plans or facilities plans, or a project of regional significance. Those have to go through the RPC with a conformance review against the regional plan. Likewise, any regional plan amendment we anticipate, whether it's a transmission corridor or a new policy or change to policy, also goes through that process. So these conformance reviews are something that we don't necessarily control the pace of, right? This is in response to development requests at the local jurisdictions. So basically, we take them as received, needed, or requested. We also have a function, we just saw today, the annual home ratification, right? So we accomplished that for the year, check. Good. And then annexation or detachment request. Detachment is just the opposite of annexation for a city. It's been a while since there's been an active annexation plan at either of the two cities. Nevertheless, when that is picked back up, the RPC will function as the annexation commission for those plans and for any subsequent annexation requests. So that's our regulatory kind of scope, per se, that we have to kind of react to what landowners and what the jurisdictions are doing. Cool. Okay, so moving on to goal area 2, regional coordination. This is an area where I think we have a little more room to react to emerging issues that are brought up by this board or by the Regional Planning Commission or by our partners at the locals. It's a space where we're operating to make sure folks are talking and not, like I say, being in a silo, and really addressing issues that come up. In this case, we've been working a lot on school approval processes, right? We've gone through many, many layers of analysis, discussion, deliberation on approvals for new schools. I think we've made a lot of progress, and we're working together collectively to add a policy to the regional plan that helps to align and provide guidance for requirements for new school approvals. One of the things that we learned along the way was that charter schools go through a state process, but maybe not as transparent of a local process that looks at some of the same things that local jurisdictions look at in terms of impacts. And so in talking with all the school players, we got to a point where we think this is the best path forward, and we're working collaboratively to achieve it. You'll hear from our legal counsel later about our progress towards developing a memorandum of understanding with the State Public Charter School Authority. And then we're working with local staff and the stakeholders to craft policy, and hopefully we'll be able to approach putting that into the regional plan by the end of this year. That would be our kind of time frame. Also in goal area 2 is a review of TMRPA's role in the energy sector. Excited to see all the lime green shirts in the audience today. It's great. It's come up starting with several requests that hit the city of Reno for data center approvals. That prompted our Regional Planning Commission Chair, Carrie Rohrmeyer, to ask us to do a little bit of research about data centers from a regional perspective. And so we started in January working on I didn't know very much, honestly, in January. Still learning as we go, but moved towards doing a bit of a research project, provided a research paper, if you will, at the RPC level, talking about data centers, their impacts, et cetera. Really prompted the idea that TMRPA, in its role as a reviewer of land use requests for power generation and power transmission, needs to be aware of these upcoming trends in energy use, and data centers are a particularly heavy energy user. And there's a conversation going on in the region about, kind of similar to the schools conversation, how do we approach collectively these data center approvals or high energy using business approvals? Should we have some sort of regional or at least coordinated standards and approach to that? And so we're continuing to take a look at that closely, with an emphasis on our role as well as regional planning and what we do. We have 6 or 7 policies that specifically address approvals for power generation and power transmission, including our regional transmission corridors. So this is an area that is emergent and we're actively working on. It's just because it's on a goal thing for next fiscal year doesn't mean I haven't been doing things in the interim. I certainly have. But we want to get a little more organized. And one of the things that I'm excited about for this is to develop, hopefully starting as early as in July, a public engagement process where we can get out in the community, get some feedback, and make sure that gets rolled into whatever review we're doing of our policies. So that's kind of another emergent regional coordination effort. And then we have several other sort of tendrils, if you will, into many items that are happening, both other local jurisdictions, affected entities like the RTC or the Flood Project, nonprofits that we partner with like Truckee Meadows Tomorrow or One Truckee River, coordinating with tribal governments. We've added a policy to ensure that that coordination is occurring, and we are actively doing that, which is good. We want to make sure that we're coordinating with EDON and other economic development authorities, because their perspective obviously needs to be part of any solution or process that we're going to move forward with. And we're always working with the local jurisdictions. We mentioned it before, but we have this idea to bring together a broader region summit where we're going to engage neighboring counties, tribes, federal agencies, state agencies, and the like in an attempt to bring folks together next summer in 2026, I think is the appropriate timeframe, to have a conversation about land use and to do that on some sort of recurrent basis, build that capacity so that we are reaching out into that broader region. And then finally, we have an entire section of policy in the regional plan that's about regional coordination, things like spheres of influence, joint plans, cooperative plans, that and the like. And so we want to make sure that we're in this vein, keeping track of that. Moving on to goal area 3, this is our data and analytics area. We've been doing a lot of stuff, right, over the years, building tools, building programs, documents, and that sort of thing, to help inform all of this decision making and to give us a consistent basis of information about the job that we're doing. So we've got things like the public infrastructure plan, I mentioned that, and the attendant dashboard, which reveals the spending on capital improvements that occurred the previous fiscal year and also forecasts out what the 5-year CIP looks like. We're in the process right now of gathering all that information again and bringing it to bear for an annual update. So we're going to be updating that annually, and that's in process. Likewise, with the natural resources plan, constantly looking at new topic areas as they emerge, bringing more and more data into the natural resources data portal. For instance, the Truckee River Information Gateway was a really neat website that lasted for a long time that had resources all about the Truckee River, but was not meeting some of the requirements at the City of Reno. They've had around accessibility and around staffing, and they approached us with, hey, can you take this over? So we were able to migrate all of that data over to our natural resource portal, and we're actively adding things to that section, including measurement data along the Truckee. We've granted access to folks that work at Tumwharf, and they're adding that data in. So we're keeping up on it with this new tech of our data portal. We know about the annual report. That's something that is required by state law, an annual report, but we've expanded it in the 2019 plan to give ourselves more to do, honestly, but to report back about statistics around land use. What are the decisions we're making? How many units are we adding? Where? By tier, by jurisdiction, and that sort of thing. There was some interesting legislation that I believe has been signed now, which is going to change the annual reporting timeframe from the local jurisdictions from April 1st to October 1st. And in fact, we think that actually lines up better with our process since we're kind of moving towards a reporting around fiscal year. So that actually will work. But we may see a little clunkiness as we work towards figuring that out. Moving on, we thank you very much for approving the consent agenda, which contained the scope of work and agreements for the 2 shared services program, which provide regional planning a little extra money for the budget. We provide technical services to the RTC and to the Western Regional Water Commission. We're anticipating quite a bit of work with WRWC because they are revamping the Regional Water Management Plan, and we're part of that team, so we can kind of update you on that as we go along. Finally, every 2 years, we do the Washoe County Consensus Forecast. That's an outlook of population and jobs in the region in Washoe County, and we're looking to just completed that in 2024, so we'll be working towards a 2026 version of the Consensus Forecast. Okay, so you may be able to make out that small black pillar. That's the 3rd pillar, right? We've talked about natural resources as that information as a foundation for our policies, our understanding of public infrastructure as a foundation for our policies. We also have done a tremendous amount of work with GIS, with housing and affordable housing, and modeling the future of our region by tracking existing entitlements, what's been approved, and where can we go. And so we're looking to really codify that in a very transparent way, in a collaborative process, where we create a 3rd document that really describes how we approach all of that work. And that document will also track these things at the very bottom, which are some of our map viewers online. We're helping to leverage GIS and mapping technology, not just for ourselves, but for other entities, such as the WRWC with their Source Water Protection Plan viewer that we've got out there at WashoeCountyCleanWater.org. So all of that will be kind of captured in this document, which will then become an annual update process as well. Okay, so that's the data and analytics side. And then finally, we have administration. We're so lucky now for the past 2 years almost now to have Carla as our office admin, and we're starting to make some progress on picking up some of the pieces that need to be handled. One of the things is we're using a document management. I mean, we still have paper files. We're going forward with all digital for the past several years. There's a bit of a gap in like scanning of the old paper files. So we have this stuff, but really it needs to be more at our fingertips. So we're looking at how we can revamp and update our document management system. You saw the pool pack stuff come through. We updated our employee handbook. We finished the phase 1 assessment. And so we're making progress on human resources tasks and the like. And of course, we do the budget and audit process, and we're on track to bring an initial budget outlook for the 26-27 fiscal year in October, as we typically do. So admin tasks, making sure we're taking care of business there. So next steps. Next steps really would be, if we're happy with this set of work tasks as the chunk of work that TMRP is going to take on, then we're going to want to work towards creating a way to really gauge our success on that. And we're calling that the agency report card as a way to just kind of catch all. But really just how timely, how complete, what's the quality, these kinds of concepts. We don't have it fully figured out yet. I think also it's an opportunity, this report card, to describe any sort of diversions we go on, right? As life goes on, you have a plan, and then life happens and you have to react. And sometimes you don't get to do everything you say you're going to do because you have to do something else. So the agency report card should have some sort of provision for that. And then get back to the director evaluation piece. In speaking with the chair and the vice chair and legal counsel, we've been trying to get our arms around how we can improve that evaluation process. So we want to move forward and bring these goals and the assessment of them into that process, as I mentioned at the beginning. This year, we're not going to benefit from a year of seeing how we do on these goals. It's just going to start on July 1, and we need to do the evaluation in August, October timeframe, I believe. So we're not going to have it, right? But we do think that we can make some changes to the existing evaluation that we bring you so that it starts to get toward an understanding and a directionality of this. And then in the next year, we will have the agency report card. And so I guess in the subsequent year, if I'm still here, you can rate me on the agency report card as well. That's the approach. And I've been looking at this thing called the SMART approach, which I just kind of wanted to introduce, which you may already be familiar with. It's from the 80s. But it's an acronym that stands for Specific, Measurable, Achievable, Relevant, and Time-Bound. So in creating the agency report card and in my drafting of the goals, this was in my mind, right? Trying to make them specific enough that they can be accomplished, that we know what they are, that they're measurable. There's some way that we can see, did we accomplish them, and how well? Is it achievable? We don't want to, I think Chair Andrilla and I spoke about the concept of stretch goals, or looking out there at things that are aspirational that you may not be able to get done in a year, and I think that's an important component. And some of these, like the third pillar, for instance, that's not going to be done in a year. That's going to probably take 2 years to do, but we know we have to do it. So the fact that it can't get done in a year shouldn't stop us from taking it on. So achievable, but accurately kind of indicating the time frame within which it is achievable. Needs to be relevant. We don't just want to run out there and do a bunch of stuff because Jeremy thinks it's a good idea. We want to make sure that we're all in agreement that it's the thing we should be doing. And then, of course, time-bound. It needs to be done within a time frame. So these are some of the concepts I think we're going to be able to work into that agency report card. And looking forward to building that. And we feel we'll be able to bring that back and the hybridized or whatever approach we can get to on the evaluation back to this body in August for that approval so we can keep the process moving. With that, I have a couple motions on the screen. The top one is just to approve the TMRPA strategic work goals as I've listed them. The bottom one is a place where you could add some feedback based on what you might want to see added in or taken out or how you might want to manipulate that. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Just for clarification a little deeper, I'd like to just maybe step all the way back. The agency report card, as Jeremy just explained, and thank you for putting together all of these goals, but in looking at aligning the performance with the goals, that we all are familiar with how that works. But being able to actually have that SMART goal and having the stretch goal as well can help, in my opinion, and I hope you all agree, in looking at having the ability, when you're doing a performance evaluation, it's, yes, you've met all of these, but sometimes there's the opportunity with good leadership, and sometimes things are other factors that have nothing to do with leadership that won't let you reach those. There are a lot of factors with a lot of moving parts with not only this agency, but any agency, but particularly with a lot of moving parts here. And so really looking at this performance evaluation as being truly measurable and being more accurate, but also in line with the organization as a whole in the strategic plan, then can have the entire organization
Exactly.
be lifted and be aligned. So it was really from that concept that this opportunity to look at revamping, I'll use the term, or improving upon how the goals are put together, how it aligns with the performance, and how the organization as a whole is performing. So I just wanted to kind of clarify the a deep appreciation of the director's patience with some phone calls and discussion, and I hope that you all agree with this approach in terms of it being a very measurable and could be ongoing. And it can help in terms of the future too, as you're looking at the next year and the next year. So having said that, I'll open it up for an opportunity to answer any questions of the director that you might have.
And Madam Chair, if I could just quickly just note that Councilmember Martinez has joined us
Yes.
online. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm not sure if I fully grasp what you plan to do with the data centers. I mean, you talked about it, you recognize the folks here, but could you just kind of run us through that again?
Absolutely, Jeremy Smith for the record. So the data centers are clearly the driving business component that has sort of fostered in my mind that we need to fully understand what is the regulatory lane of regional planning. What is it that we can actually effectuate? I mean, there are some conditions in state law about the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada, any public works, utility that is operating and is subject to the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada is not subject to TMRPA. It's not as an effective
Right.
entity. So
But-
I think what we want to do is get around what do we have the authority to do? And I'm very concerned, I think based on the conversations we've had, that if data centers or other businesses are going to be having this huge demand for power, we've already tracked the 1,000 megawatts of solar and geothermal that's been built in Washoe County. We're tracking where the corridors are. Let's get ahead of where we don't want to see that stuff
Yeah.
and make sure we're aware of it, and where we do want to see it so that when a decision point comes, we have some background for that.
Well, what I got from our last discussion was not that you necessarily were going to have a regulatory role, but that you were going to collect information for the rest of us, so that we all trust you and your team to do that work. And rather than each of us at our jurisdictions generating data information, that you were possibly going to prepare fact sheets for us, information perhaps about the growth of data centers in Nevada and then Washoe County specifically, what we've seen, what's on the horizon, to prepare us back at our jurisdictions to be able to do the work. I wasn't thinking in that last conversation that you were taking on a new regulatory role.
Oh, okay, great. And I don't think we're taking on a new role. I think we just want to make sure that we understand our role as this. But absolutely, what you're saying is part of it as well. Sort of was getting to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Definitely, we want to engage the public and stakeholders and partners at the local jurisdictions and affected entities to do exactly what you're saying, to build a mechanism that tracks the approvals or the request for approvals of these things. And I think we better cast a net that's beyond Washoe County.
Well, that's why I said state of Nevada.
Yeah, state of
At
Nevada.
least.
Yeah.
Or our region,
certainly
like Truckee Meadows.
maybe our five-county
Truckee
region.
areas that are served
Yep.
potentially by MV Energy and so on.
And I think that in so doing, by bringing that information together and sharing it, obviously, that can lead us to that collective discussion around the appropriateness or the scope and the shape of a regional policy that can help guide how we approach data centers regionally.
And so I guess what I'm hoping is that we could also get information about, for example, siting to the extent of, for example, let's just say, as they've done in Clark County, that we say evaporative cooling is a no-go for data centers. I'm just saying if we did. But then, but power's still a big issue, and so how do we get them maybe located along corridors that have reclaimed water available? How do we get them located in corridors that it's easier to bring power together so we're not duplicating these trunk lines and, what do I want to say, the stations, the lift not the lift stations,
substations?
the substation. So we're not duplicating these substations all over and that we can more, focus their development. I mean, is that something that you would take on? I mean, this is a land planning thing that we need help with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, my first inclination in thinking about our role, our lane, our spot that we're in, is I want to make sure that our job of tracking, approving, number one, projects of regional significance that are designated in state law. Any power generation facility of 5 megawatts or greater must be reviewed by regional
Right.
planning. Any generation of transmission, rather, of electricity 60 kV and greater needs to come through the process. And then we take it through both steps. We go to the RPC for the PRS review, and then we take it up here for the mapping.
Yeah.
And then everyone here gets a chance as well to weigh in on those projects. So from that regional, our job perspective, I want to make sure we really have kind of exactly what you said, ready to, pre-thought, not just reacting, but being proactive.
Right.
And I think that in collaboration with local jurisdiction staff, we can also address how to get there at a more local level as well.
Okay, well, I wasn't clear from that
Yeah.
part of your presentation.
Sure.
So, and then is there a timeline? Is that this year? When are you planning to do it?
Well, I plan to start the public engagement next month and get that scoped and start getting feedback. I mean, I think ongoing, but yeah, as we know, it's an urgent matter. So I don't have a deadline, but I'm all ears. If you assign me one, I'll do my best to meet it.
Let me put it this way. I know that the mayor in Reno is planning to have a joint meeting with the city council and our regional planning commission, our planning commission. So a joint meeting in the next few months. I mean, regardless of this time frame.
Yes.
And I think she wants to bring in some experts. I think that she wants to hear the issues again from the public. We had a very big turnout when we began to tackle this issue at Reno. I mean, I think we had 30 to 50 people come testify just on this. And so we're not going to slow down. Like, we have to actually speed up in some ways. So, in fact, one of the reasons the mayor didn't put on the record that she didn't want to take action was she thought that the proposal in Reno was too slow. Our planning staff said it would take something like 6 months, and she felt that was too slow.
Okay.
That we have these coming in. And so, that's why I'm asking you. I'm not giving you a time frame or even suggesting one. I just wondered what yours was planned to be.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's obviously it has an urgency, and we don't want to sit on it. And I have been actively working on it, actually. And Commissioner Vanderwall was kind enough to put me in touch with some folks, Story County, and some folks out in Fernley. I've had some conversations, so we're engaged right now.
Okay.
I think, we don't want to wait, and we want to sort of. Obviously, there's interest, and we know that these decision points are fast approaching.
Yeah.
I'm planning to, if invited, I'm certainly happy to work with Reno staff to attend and participate in the joint
Okay.
meeting. That'd be
That'd
fine.
be great.
And also recently, Carrie Rohrmeyer emailed us about the APA. That's not until October, so we'll be
Correct.
well ahead of that. But maybe we can set October as sort of a loose deadline.
first.
Yeah, kind of a first place where we should have a really good handle on what we're trying to do between now and then, so that we can have it for that conference,
That'd
but
be
also.
great. Yeah, no,
Okay.
that'd be great. I just didn't want to be vague, and all the folks are here, and we are moving forward in Reno, and I don't want to get too far ahead of regional planning, and so that's, why I'm just asking all these questions.
Thank you, and they're great questions, and of course, we plan to work together with City of Reno staff and City Sparks and Washoe County staff. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, I'm going to, call for public comment before the vote. So do we have any folks who'd like to comment?
We do. We have Kathy Fulkerson.
Thank you.
Good
Hello.
afternoon. I'm Kathy Fulkerson. I'm facilitator of Third Act Nevada. We're an organization for older Americans who are very interested in helping to protect our climate and advancing green energy goals. And I'm here to speak on item 7B and specifically goal 2.2 on the evaluating TMRPA's role in the energy sector, considering projects of regional significance requirements, and existing regional plan policies to administer and track energy generation and transmission in the county and in northern Nevada. I'm a retired director of institutional research and effectiveness from Western Nevada College. I spent a 23-year career in higher education, managing strategic planning and the alignment of annual goals with the overarching strategic plan, creating SMART goals that are measurable, and then using data and analytics to track the achievement of those goals toward regional planning goals is best practices in the field. I laud you for these goals and tying them directly to the strategic plan and bringing in data and analytics. It's music to my ears to see and hear this in action on the ground, and so I laud you for doing that. In addition, it's so important to review the role of the energy sector in regional development. Data centers are here in Nevada, and they are poised to grow significantly across the nation as well as in Nevada. We need high-quality, up-to-date research on high-demand energy users such as data centers, and Dr. Smith's poised to do that. Thank you. Northern Nevada jurisdictions need help reviewing and proposing a comprehensive regional energy policy, and the public needs an opportunity to participate in this process. So thank you very much. I also love the conversation and I urge you to elevate this goal as a regional urgent priority, and the October deadline's fantastic. That's my birth month, and so I would be very happy to come back and hear your report on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Yeah, last one, Robin Palmer.
I'm Robin Palmer, and good afternoon, Chair Andriola and board members. Dr. Smith, you get 2 thumbs up. I encourage the board's approval of the TMRPA strategic work plan and goals for fiscal year 25-26. I'm wearing a green shirt. I'm wearing a green shirt. So you might have guessed that I strongly support the inclusion of Goal 2.2, a review of TMRPA's role in the energy sector, ... to administer and track energy generation and transmission. And under Goal 2.2, particularly Bullet 4, create and administer a public engagement process to elicit feedback on ... or from, rather, stakeholders and the general public. The general public, a lot wearing green shirts here today, want to be and should be involved. And along with that, or Bullet 5, following a public process ... to propose new or edits to the existing policies in the regional plan to guide decision-making around energy generation and transmission. I also strongly support Goal 2.3, continue coordination and participation with local jurisdictions, ... to achieve consensus and consistency with regional plan vision and policy. My take is that there's been the jurisdictions are somewhat in their separate silos, and I think there needs to be more regional collaboration, and I'd be happy to see TMRPA take a leading role in guiding that collaboration. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you.
Ms. Andriola?
Can
Well, I
make
just
sure
wanted
There's
to-
no other public comment.
Oh, I
was-
didn't think
I
there was.
apologize.
Yeah, that is all.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I recently read an article that listed Nevada as the fifth most, the state of greatest interest for data centers in the top 5. So it's not just like it might be coming or they're thinking about us. Apparently, this is a thing, and they've identified us on the radar as a good place to do this kind of business. So I just wanted to share that. I can share you the article later.
Thank you. So thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Mr. Miguel Martinez, I'm not ignoring you, but just making sure that you've been able to hear us. I'm guessing he has. So, if there's no other further discussion, I'll entertain a motion at this time. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Dorr. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Oh, gosh. Jeremy, you've got thumbs up and a clap, and do you want to bow or?
I better not.
Speech? We'll move now to item 8A, Washoe County School District Board of Trustee member President Smith actually shared she wasn't able to attend today's meeting. She's attending a graduation at Spanish Springs High School that I wish I could be there attending with her, but I'm here. So if you have any, do you have any information from her?
I do not, no.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead then and move to B, which is the member and director's report.
Jeremy Smith, the record. I can do a very quick director's report. I'm happy to announce that we have been able to fill the GIS analyst position that was vacated back in December. We're bringing on a new member July 1. His name is Tyler Smith. And years and years ago, he was actually an intern at the agency. So he came back, applied, went through the process. It was a robust process, but he definitely is the guy for the job. So we're excited for that. And then we've also brought on 2 new interns recently. So we're back in the intern train. We've got a PhD student from UNR Geography who's working great at GIS. So that's been helpful. And then another master's student who's doing her master's in England, actually, but lives over here. And so has been joining. She's an environmental studies emphasis. So I'm excited about that. We're getting back to full strength and have the ability to do these goals we've talked about. My last bit of director's report is that next week I'm going on vacation. So I'll be gone next week. If you need to get me, I'll be back on June 23rd. Thank you.
Thanks. And it looks like the next meeting is scheduled for August 14th. I'll move now to the legal counsel. Ms.
Yes,
Prenti.
thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Prenti for the record. A couple items to report on. First, on the status of the Memorandum of Understanding with the State Public Charter School Authority, that we have a good working draft. However, there was some legislative items that came through. One of them is a pretty hefty bill. It's over 200 pages long. I haven't parsed it out yet, but it looks like there's definitely some things that address charter schools, and there might be some more process pieces that's going to be applicable. And so I have a meeting scheduled with legal counsel for the Charter School Authority, and we're just going to make sure that we have identified anything that was recently passed, fold it all into one thing so we can just get this done once and have this information sharing arrangement that will hopefully be useful for everybody. So that should be, hoping to bring that MOU for board approval in August. And then secondarily, I'll be working with the chair and vice chair and the director on revamping his evaluation to not only fold in a area of performance to be evaluated relating to the agency report card, but also just, it's been a while since the evaluation's been touched for the director. I'm going to reach out to some other regional agencies and see how their director evaluations are formatted and what areas of performance they look at, and just see if we can make something a little bit more meaningful for you guys to evaluate and for the director to take from. So I hope to be bringing that back for approval in August as well. And that's all I
Thanks.
have.
Sounds
Thank
like August is going to be a great meeting.
Excellent
A great meeting.
admin meeting.
Thank you so much. And we'll move now to item number 9, board comments and requests for future agenda items. Hearing none, I'd like to call for public comment.
We have none.
Thank you. And any written correspondence?
No, there's none.
Thank you. We'll move for adjournment at 3:06. Great meeting. Thank you so much.